Hi, this is Brian McHenry of McHenry Software. There's a quick run through of creating a new 3D project with the latest version of MSmack MEdit version 2.55 through 2.6, which is coming out soon. One of the first things we want to point out, let's go ahead and exit from here, is when you first install MSmack 3D, you get two different icons. One of the icons is the traditional, and the one that any experienced user is familiar with, is when you start up the program, it starts in a grid. And in that grid, to create a new project, you'd go Project, New Project. And then it gives you an automatic name, or you can go ahead and put your name in there. The same process comes if you chose the other option, which is in the McHenry 3D Graphics, which is to start up in the McHenry 3D Graphics. When we click on that, it goes into the last project you have. And up in the upper left corner, there is open projects, where you can open different projects, any projects you have out there, as in recent, last, go to your project directory, demos, etc. Then you can also create a new project, back up your project, which we recommend you do frequently, just while you're working, if things are going good, make a backup. We also have the restore project, and then we have if you need to go out and explore, edit files out there. But so we click on the new project. That same dialog comes up. So we're going to put in my new 3D project. Let me say next. Now you can go and get standard models and change them from within the program. And we'll point that out when we get in there. Or you can actually select your vehicle from here. And if you don't have a vehicle, what we do is you go through all these, and you can just use your down arrow to go through the different ones, or go by the names. You notice there's quite a lot. It keeps growing, because if you find you have a project that we don't have the model, go out to 3D CAD browser, find the model, and send us a link to that, and then we can download it and convert it to work within this. We're going to go ahead and start this one with a BMW 3 Series. And once you select one, you'll notice that down here it gives you an overview of specs. Sometimes there won't be anything in there, or sometimes you just want to go ahead and hit edit. And you want to look here and make sure that you've got all these inputs filled in. If not, or if you're not sure the inputs or what year's in there, just go out and choose specs. You could just go to BMW, and then you could go 3. You see that it's got a bunch of different 3 Series here you could pick from. We're just going to, for the point of time right now, we're going to just use what was in there. Let's add the weight for the driver, 200 pounds, and then we say OK. And then OK. For the other vehicle, we'll go ahead and get a Chevy Lumina. Hold standby. Again, check your edit, see what's in there. You can go ahead and pull the specs out for a different year, whatever year you have, and then you add in, let's add 200 for this driver. We say OK. Now once you finish, it simply runs it on a flat plane. As you can see, just simple running. We'll zoom out a little. Now, how we make this customized to yours is the first thing you want to do is select what kind of ground or point cloud you're going to bring in. You can have this plain color, gray, or we could change that to a different color. You can bring in an image to use as your terrain, and then add elevations for it. You can bring in a terrain from the map, as in Google Maps. You can bring in a DXF that you have, if you've made measurements, etc., or a drawing of the scene. You can bring in this point cloud, and there's on each of these there's videos that cover these. You can also bring in a mesh. But we're going to go ahead and just use an image file, so we'll just go click, bring in our old trusty image file we've used in other ones. We say OK. First thing you do is click on the image, and you see there's an image drape. And so you want to go and you say set sizes from points. And let's go ahead and set the width of this road here about 22 feet. We recommend you put in a scale, etc. And now another thing you can do is, once you go ahead to overhead, zoom in, zoom out, and let's make this a little larger. So instead of 128, let's make it 300 by 300. So we have there's our scene. Now when we go ahead and we want to set the elevations, we click on over here to the right, Edit Elevations. Click on it, zoom out. I always recommend you put 4 in the corner so it has elevations. Then for this one, we're going to have just an edge of road here. We're going to put a bottom of a ditch. And maybe a little flat area before it comes back up. Now, when you next do it is up here, because it draw elevation or draw point when you first load this up, the second thing you could do is go edit. And so plus is up, minus is down. So we're going ahead and put in here minus 5 feet at the edge to run down from the road. And then we'll put here minus 3 feet maybe to make it a slight upslope before the larger upslope. Make this minus 3. Now, a couple of ways you can do triangles. You can make triangle by just, you see how it selects. You can make each one. The other thing we can try, which may or may not work, or you can make selecting 3 at a time, or you can say make all triangles. If we make all triangles, we look done here. So if we go to edit point, we'll say this is minus 5 and that's minus 3. This should not go back to there, so we're going to go ahead and delete that triangle too. Delete that. So now we're going to make with 3 points. We're going to take this, this, and then that, with that, and that. Normally, automatically, this does it fine when you have more points, but for some reason this time it wants to misbehave. See how now we have a very smooth, with a little bit of a slope there, and then an upslope. And that's what we were looking for. So now, of course, if we run the simulation on this, you see they have not seen the terrain yet, because even though it's 3D, it's not seen it. So the first thing we could do, just to demonstrate, is you can click Run, and it automatically finds where's the terrain underneath the tires, and it puts them on the terrain. So now if you notice, when we run them, he's like coming from off the road and going back on. That's not really what happened. So our next item is we're going to go to Overhead. And then when we click on a vehicle, a menu comes up to the right. There's a menu here for if you need to change the specs again or check the specifications. There's a one for, again, changing the model with the specs or changing the model and retaining the specs. If let's say you set up a simulation, you put in the specs, but we don't have a model yet, you ask us for a model. Generally, if you go out to 3D CAD browser, find the model, send us a link to that model, then we can download that model for you and add it to the model library. And so in that place, you would only want to change the model only and retain the specs. Here's where you can also change the colors. And for example, we're going to go ahead and change the color of the vehicle 2 to blue. Now we have a blue and a green vehicle, but obviously you do it whatever color you want. Next, there's for the structural nodes, and you can either do it by type, which are very crude, just points that are out there. If you're doing anything that has a simulation or interacts with the terrain, go ahead and use the structural nodes. That's where you set what's the increment between points, etc. We're not going to go ahead and do that right now because there's no rollover here yet. The next is the tire marks. That's this one. And you can make it dashed or solid. And then you can also make it just skids. So then you don't have the line. So usually when you're first doing it, you can see the paths they're traveling. You do it with the line. For your final, you probably just show the skids. We'll go to vehicle 2 and do the same. Set that for skids and make it dashed only. So now the next thing we have to do is the positions. And again, clicking on the vehicle, going over here to positions, it puts them in their initial positions. You notice that now the vehicle has 2 dots on it. One is for the CG and one is for the heading angle. So you can change the heading angle, and then we can also change the CG location. So I can slide it over here. Likewise over here there's arrows to move it back and forth, up and down. Well, and rotate it, and also where you set your speed. Now for this vehicle, we'll do the same thing. We can move him back a little and rotate him a little bit this way, so they're going to still hit. And obviously you may have to look into pre-impact steering, braking, things like that. Those are covered in many of the videos. We go ahead now when we run it, see they're on the road now, and you have your first 3D simulation. A couple other minor points to make. Let's just say these are at 30 and 30. Let's say we wanted to do another one at 40 and 40. A simple way we have up here in the upper left, where it's just scenario tweak switch input files. I'm going to jump over to the grid to show you if you're in the grid, if you're used to using the grid. So here you notice we have also switch input files, and it just has the one in there. But from either one of those, and we're going to go back out to graphics, which you could go right from grid to graphics or from here to graphics. But if we click on this again, we see that when you highlight that, you can make a copy. And we're going to say this, my first new project, 30 miles per hour. See, that has a copy at the 30, but now the highlighted one is this one, and we're going to make this one 40 miles an hour. So we're not going to run it. You can automatically run it once you do this, but we're not going to run it yet. So we're going to go close, and then we're going to click on each vehicle and put them both at 40. Click on this vehicle, put him at 40. And now we click simulate. And here is what happens when they're 40 miles an hour. For those of you familiar with the grid in the new 3D graphics now, some of the other enhancements we have that you can actually edit the grid here, like for your pre and post impact steering and braking. There's some videos out there talking about that, and also on the forum you'll see some walkthroughs of how to change things on that. But this is just a quick way where you don't have to go back. At some point we're hoping we're going to just go into the graphics at all times. There's animulation, there's adding trees and things. You can go out and add a tree. You can add billboards, so what the background can have. If you have a wall of trees back there, you take a picture of it and you can put them up there as either as individual trees or as a picture of trees. Polygon friction zones. Obviously, we've talked about the point cloud things. Then there's also doing automatic pan and zoom. That's discussed in some. You can do charts. You do charts of things like speed, vehicle acceleration. You can do it for vehicle 1, vehicle 2. You can create your select chart. You can go in and edit and add colors, etc. A lot of this is covered in other videos, etc. Or if not, let us know and we'll create one. Tire normal forces even. Roll pitch yaw angles. Wheels and CG elevations. You can save images as graphics files or print them. Then you can jump back if you start up in graphics only, you can jump back to the grid screen, or you can run the old 2D graphics and animations programs. Help files are available here. There's movies, which we'll be updating, and then help documents. A couple of options in here which you might be interested in is whether or not to show the origin, the compass. You can add a grid with whatever increment you want. The image size for the ground is currently limited to 16 megs, but you can put it at whatever you want. You got items up top for customizing. You can add lights, another miscellaneous about the help movies. One other item which we have yet to fully present, and which I don't know if we can see on this small screen. I'm going to move this over a little and open it up. So we now have headlights you can add. So you can turn those on, and you can set them on the vehicle, etc. We're going to come up with a demo on that soon, but we're going to have headlights and taillights, which you could add up to 10 for a session. Let's bring that back. because I kind of ran this off of here. There we go. Obviously, your screen is going to be larger than this. Making movies, that's covered in there too, where you can make an animation. Whatever you see on your screen, you can create a quick movie of that. That's from these two dialogues. This is where you set your scene in movie size. So you set it to your maximum screen, or if you're making movies, you want to set it to a smaller size so you don't chew up so much the size. And we recommend you make the movies in MP4 or WMV, which we have the option to do. I think that about covers getting started with a first 3D reconstruction. Any questions? Let us know. Thank you for watching.